Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. As always, so happy to have some time with you today on this Wednesday. And if you've been watching, you know that we have been enjoying highlighting and spotlighting everything related to Earth Week, Earth Day, and sustainability. That said, and we have a great show planned for you today, which I'm very excited about. But that said, it's important that we start today with talking about the verdict that came yesterday. 1 year ago, we know that as a nation, we collectively watched George Floyd die at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer who knelt on his neck for 8 minutes. We have watched and waited for an outcome of a jury that has come together to review this matter. And obviously, yesterday, we know that we received a verdict in this case. I would like to share with you the YWCA of Northern New Jersey's response to the verdict yesterday and our thoughts on the matter. We know and we believe that justice and accountability definitely prevailed with the outcome of the verdict. It does not vindicate hundreds of years of systemic racism that has brought us to this point, though. But it does give us a moment of hope that there can be equitable justice for not just some, but for all in our country. Our work continues until we reach this place, but we can only get there by deepening our commitment to delivering equal treatment to all, which is our constitutional right. We at the YWCA of Northern New Jersey will continue to educate and to activate our community until our mission is realized and that we reach our end goal of eliminating racism. We know that trust needs to be built between our Black communities and our law enforcement, and quite frankly, all of our communities and our law enforcement. And we stand with our Black communities to support reform of our policing system so we have no more lives that are lost as tragically and unjustly as George Floyd's life was. But unfortunately, we know from watching the news that there have been other episodes and incidents that have occurred that are equally as concerning. And so, again, we know that there is much more to do, even in the wake of this verdict. Our prayers are with George Floyd's family. We know that they continue to grieve the loss of their loved one. We also know that our Black communities are processing a range of emotions right now, and we stand with them, we listen, and we're here to learn. Public health is and always has been a central concern to racial justice work. And the timing is right now is that we encourage you to attend a virtual town hall event that YWCA USA is sponsoring tomorrow, April 22nd at 3 p.m., called Addressing Racism as a Public Health Crisis. We at the YWCA of Northern New Jersey agree with our CDC's leadership in the statement that racism is a public health crisis. And we nationally and here locally in Northern New Jersey will be continuing our movement to try to get this recognized as such, and with that, getting the attention and the resources and support needed to eliminate racism. And so with that, we hope that you join the event tomorrow, the virtual town hall. There is a panel of trailblazers who are working on this issue of racism as a public health crisis that will be coming together and discussing ways that we together can collectively help make this movement happen. You can register for no charge for this town hall discussion, and here in the link, we will put the link of this broadcast. We will put the information so that you can register and join us. The YWCA of Northern New Jersey team, we will be on, and we know so many members of our local community will be. But we hope that this verdict has, created more interest and more understanding around why it is essential that not only we move forward on important pieces of legislation around police reform, but also that we declare racism a public health issue in this country. And so with that, I want to transition us back to the discussion of what we are talking about here today, our focus and our, of the week around celebrating all things green as well. And I am so grateful to have today a very special guest who's actually one of my favorite people in the world, Stephen Weisner of Flat Rock Brook with us. So welcome, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us today to be part of our celebration at the YW TV.
Thank you so much, Helen, for having me, and very well stated your intro there, and we really appreciate the work that you do in the community to address racism issues. You do a great job, and your organization does too.
Well, thank you. And I know that you are one of the many nonprofits in our community that stand with us and, are looking to, do your part as well, in this bigger picture. So we really appreciate your leadership on that and your organization, working around that issue too. So for our viewers, as we talked about, since 1970, Earth Day has been a thing, and it's been to raise awareness around environmental issues and remind people that we all are part of the solution and part of creating a sustainable planet for sure. And we have had, wonderful conversations throughout this week and more to come to, bring attention to how we can all be better stewards of our planet and work to reduce our carbon footprint. And again, so grateful today to have the executive director of Flat Rock Brook Nature Center, which is located in Englewood with us. As you can see, he is nestled right there in the nature center behind him. You can, when he, we have him muting in between because all the nature sounds are, wafting into the broadcast. But it is really one of the most beautiful places that we have in Bergen County. And I don't want to call it a hidden gem because we know so many people enjoy it, but it is a tucked away gem that's a little off the beaten path, which is actually what makes it even more of a joy, because in the midst of this urban center, we have this beauty pop up, which, is really a statement about, about our environment and why it's so important, to embrace supporting, keeping it intact the way it is. But with that, let me tell you a little bit more about Stephen, and then we're going to jump into our conversation. Stephen has been the executive director at Flat Rock Brook since 2006. He is responsible for designing, developing, and implementing strategic plans for the organization while maintaining the financial integrity of the nonprofit center. Prior to joining Flat Rock Brook, he spent 7 years with the Greater Newark Conservancy as their program director and community greening coordinator. He is also the current liaison to the Englewood Environmental Commission, serving in that capacity for 15 years. He's a past president and a grants committee chair of the Rotary Club of Englewood, and is also the current treasurer of EarthShare New Jersey, which is based in Trenton. He has been a grant reviewer for the United States Environmental Protection Agency, Region 2, a member of the McKay Park Vision Plan Leadership Team. He has also been part of the Englewood Deer Task Force and is active on other community-based committees and consortiums, including the Age-Friendly Englewood Coalition, the City of Englewood Sustainability Task Force, the Coalition for Racial Equity and Unity and Equity, and the Englewood Coordinating Committee. He is one busy guy, but he looks so relaxed and zen because he gets to be in such a beautiful surrounding every day. So welcome, Stephen. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Helen. I do have to make a clarification. I'm actually working from my beautiful home today outside. We are still, I work most of the time at Flat Rock Brook, but we are still doing a staggered hybrid work environment, and today's my work at home day, so I'm actually at home. So.
Well, it's still beautiful out there, and I can appreciate and respect and look forward to hearing a little bit more about those protocols that you have in place, so that we could share that with our viewers. Because that's wonderful to hear, and definitely instills a lot of confidence in anyone who's still feeling a little reticent to get back out there in the great open spaces like yours. That hopefully we can calm some of their fears, knowing that you have such great policies and protocols in place. But let's start by talking about the beauty that normally surrounds you every day. Tell us about Flat Rock and the gem that it is, and people may not know. I don't know why they don't, if they don't, but we should make sure they do.
Awesome. Yes. So Flat Rock Brook Nature Center is a 150-acre preserve right in Englewood, about 2 miles from the George Washington Bridge. We have 3.6 miles of beautiful trails. We have visitation of at least 60 to 70,000 people per year visit the Nature Center. We run public programs. This year, of course, with the pandemic, not as much, but in a typical year, we run programming for about 5,000 adults and students. Yeah, we're typically this time of year, we would have field trips, buses rolling up every day, going out to see the nature, see our urban forest firsthand, and to get an environmental education experience. It's really kind of a miracle that Flat Rock Brook even exists, 150 acres of forest in a pretty urban place like Englewood. But it really is a testament to our founders back in the 60s and 70s that had the foresight to see the value in a property that wasn't very well utilized at that time, but had a lot of potential. And now it's just a place that is universally loved in the region.
Well, and rightly so, as it should be, because there's so much. It's the beauty is immense, and although it's so incredibly untouched around it, there still is so much built in, right there. So tell us about what is on the property there. So for someone who's coming, what can they do?
Sure. So typically when visitors come to Flat Rock Brook, their first thing that they would like to probably do would be to visit our trails. We have really tremendous trails. We have two staff members, a land manager and a land steward, that are actually on staff, that their job is to maintain those trails and keep them in good shape. So typically visitors are accessing our trail system and enjoying nature firsthand. We have a beautiful brook, the Flat Rock Brook, that runs right through the heart of the preserve. We have a wonderful playground at our Jones Road area, our Jones Road picnic area. We have an aviary in which we house 5 birds of prey, owls, hawks that we care for, that are non-releasable captive animals that have injuries that would not survive in the wild, and we take care of them, and we use them on programming for students and adults. And we have a beautiful nature center building, which is unfortunately still not completely open to the public. We've opened our restrooms partially, but we have a beautiful facility in which we have a large aquarium and meeting room, and then we hold a lot of our nature classes in there too.
Yes, and it's actually the view, right, when you park and just get out of your car, is absolutely stunning. And I know I've been to so many community meetings, because you are really a community center. Even though you're surrounded by beauty, you're really a community center for us here in northern Bergen County and in northern New Jersey and in Bergen County, to come to host nonprofit meetings or community conversations, and then to have them with such beauty around you is absolutely amazing. So tell us about your programming. Again, I know that you do a range of programming normally, and I know that things have shifted and look a little bit different, over this past year, as you've already kind of, noted. What do you do traditionally? What are you kind of starting to get back into now? Let us know so that we can mark our calendars.
Sure. So thank you. We have, in a typical year, like I said, in the fall and the spring, almost every day we would have school groups coming up in school buses. being led through our forest by staff members or volunteer trail guides who are trained to send students out to learn about nature firsthand, hands-on, minds-on, we call it, in which they're actually connecting. We have older students coming at this point too to actually do research at Flat Rock. We have an agreement with Dwight Englewood School in which their whole, I think it's either 10th or 11th grade, comes and do research projects at Flat Rock in which they'll do soil sampling, they'll do water testing, they'll look at the urban forest, they'll talk about deer problems that are in the woods. And we're actually going to be starting a program with Dwight Morrow High School after this pandemic passes. We had an agreement to have their whole environmental science students, all the environmental science students at Dwight Morrow High School to come do research, which is the public school in Englewood. So we're really kind of trying to open up our facility as what we call a living laboratory. So we have our trails that are open to the public that are really, there for the public's health and wellness and exercise. But we also want to have a part of the preserve that's available for learning and for students to appreciate nature instead of learning about science in the four walls of their school, to come out to our living laboratory and learn about nature in the environment, which is a better place to learn.
I love that term, living laboratory, and there is so much to just soak in there for all ages. I know I obviously have younger children, and we've enjoyed being in such the beauty of your outdoor space, and really for children of any age. But it as you said, it's not just beautiful and enjoyable and a good heart healthy activity to be walking around. Both for your body and for your mind, for sure. But there is so many opportunities to learn, both formally and informally, when you visit. So I love that living laboratory statement. That's wonderful that you've been able to create those programs and partnerships, with the schools, and wonderful that we're slowly getting back to that point for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the precautions you have in place, during, this time, because, I know for my family, we have really needed outdoor time to be able to manage being so secluded, and kept in our house, especially so much so, last year, when this all really started, and that having places like, Flat Rock Brook to be, really helps, you mentally and emotionally get through, this challenging time. But I know people are still fearful about getting out and, running into people and so can you talk a little bit about your space and how people can utilize it now and what precautions so that they know what's in place?
Sure. So, initially when it hit about a year ago, we when the state did their mandates that we closed, we had to actually close our trails for about 6 weeks in April into May, which was really difficult because that's really, that's our bread and butter. That's why people come visit is to come get outside. But then pretty quickly in the spring last year, if you remember, there was this transition in which, the idea we couldn't have people just completely stay at home all the time. There needed to be some place to go. And the places that people were going were the parks, whether it was the state park or the county parks, but even more importantly are the local parks right in your community. There was a push at that time to not be traveling so far. You wanted to stay local. So we had such incredible usage. We're talking about 3 times the amount of normal usage that we would get. So that was a challenge too, because it was almost like we were so popular, because we have a great facility, but we had to be mindful of, over having too many people out in social distancing at that time. So on the busy weekends, we started setting up tables with volunteers to come make sure that people were masking up, to make sure people were social distancing, and to just provide information about the Nature Center. That was very well received. I think it was good for us too, to really get to know the people that utilize the facility and to really understand how much they appreciate it. It's sometimes if you don't ask questions and you're not there, you don't know exactly why people love Flat Rock. You know, 9/11 was a time that was before Flat Rock, before I got involved in Flat Rock. But whenever there seems to be very challenging times in the world, people tend to find solace in beautiful open spaces, to be able to maybe to capture some of the beauty of nature, and it helps in wellness. The exercise also helps people deal with the difficult times. So we found in talking to people that this became their kind of sanctuary. This became a place where they, mothers would bring their children because they'd be able to have conversations and to be able to connect with our environment. So we wanted to be open. We wanted to make it available to as many people as possible. So our trails are completely open. They've been for about a year. But our inside building has not been opened. We're trying to be mindful of our staff, you know, who have to interact. You know, this isn't a typical office. You know, in a typical week, you know, hundreds or thousands of people would be coming through. On a weekend, hundreds of people come through each day. So we have to be a little bit mindful of safety. But we're going to be slowly reopening our building. Our restrooms are now open. You know, so people that do need to use our restroom facilities down in Jones Road, they're open to the public. So it's been a difficult balance, but you know, to try to balance the safety and health of our visitors and our staff, but also be as open as possible for the public who really need our location to be open right now and to be available.
Yes, well, and I agree, and I really appreciate that you and your staff and your board have really taken the time to think through the ways that you can really show up for our community at this time, but at the same time, you know, do it in a way that's, you know, safe for them to be able to, you know, have that resource, you know, obviously, which is amazing and so, so important. And I know now that the weather is getting, you know, a little bit nicer each day, people will be looking for more and more opportunities to get out there. So, you know, for those of you watching, again, we want to make sure that you're noting that we have the links here to connect to their website, and also follow them on social media. They have some, I have to say, during the pandemic, I was always appreciating the story times and the activities, and you know, your team was really being very creative in terms of keeping opportunities for, you know, parents like myself, you know, who, you know, we're definitely looking for ways to, you know, engage my kids during the time. So I really appreciated you and your team doing that. So let's talk a little bit about the environment as a whole, right? And the ecosystem, the bigger ecosystem, you know, that you're part of. You know, you talked about being a living laboratory, but we also know from your background, which I started and shared, you know, at the top of the broadcast, you know, that, you know, this is not only your job, this is a life calling for you. You know, this is the work. And I again happen to know you, you know, well, so I know that about you, that this is, you know, this is your path in life is around this. So talk to us a little bit about that piece, about where, you know, it's Earth Week. You know, what are some of the projects and initiatives that you're connected to that are kind of on that kind of grander environmental scale? And, you know, how can those of us watching be supportive and, you know, participate in, you know, creating a more sustainable, you know, planet and reducing our carbon footprint?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Helen. You know, my history is I grew up on a farm in South Jersey, peaches and apples and tomatoes, and it was weird because I grew up in this very beautiful farm, but I didn't really appreciate it until actually I left and went to college, and I saw how, you know, a lot of the other people were. I went to Rutgers, and you know, they appreciated nature more than I did because it was more important to them because they lived in cities and more suburban areas in which parklands were actually revered. So I actually had to leave my farm to really start appreciating open spaces more. So as I went and you know, I traveled to all over the country. My wife and I went to several national parks, and I just truly said, I have to do this for a living and to get involved. And I started volunteering at a nonprofit organization in Newark, and started, before I knew it, was building community gardens in the city of Newark, which was so rewarding on so many levels to be involved in something like that. So that got me very interested in the environment and sustainability as kind of a calling. At Flat Rock Brook, we believe very strongly in making our 150 acres very accommodating to people, of course, in the trails, but also to wildlife. We only plant native plants because native plants are what our native animals need to eat and find shelter in. So that's very important that we kind of rebuild our ecosystems and try to create habitat biodiversity by planting the right things and obviously maintaining our spaces. So those are some of the things. I know we have volunteers that come in every week and maintain our plants and our native plants, and I really appreciate what them and my staff do to keep our 150 acres beautiful, but also not just beautiful visually and aesthetically, but also for wildlife. So the birds and the reptiles and the amphibians and everything has a home in Englewood. So we're really excited about that. And on a personal level, is taking leadership. I always just tell people, whether it's my daughters or other people that I know very well, to, for the environment and sustainability, you could take charge of your own decisions. You could decide some of the things that you could do to make your own personal difference, the things that you purchase. If you have the ability, the vehicle that you drive, if you have the ability to install renewable energy like solar panels, like the Nature Center has over 90 solar panels. We have cork floors, which are made out of a renewable material. We have recycled countertops made out of concrete and broken glass. So it's all very purposeful at Flat Rock Brook. And I have great professionals on my staff and on my board that help make wonderful decisions. Because if we're not selling that story, if we're not leading by example as the environmental organization in Englewood and in Bergen County, it's really hard for us to ask others to do it. So, we try to lead by example, whether it's in my home or whether it's at the workplace, to try to do what we can to just make good environmental decisions.
Well, I thank you for sharing that detail. And yesterday we had a great conversation with our friends over at the Bergen Restore, about ways to, reuse. And, you gave us some other, great ideas about things that we can look into as well to keep that, at the forefront of our thinking. So I know that you guys are having your 50th anniversary in 2023, which is amazing. Those big anniversaries are, the work every day, that's going on there is amazing, but it's wonderful to be able to have something like that to celebrate as an organization. What are you planning for that milestone?
Well, it's really exciting to be at Flat Rock right now. In 2023, like you said, we'll be having our 50th anniversary. And we've decided as an organization, starting the spring of 2022, to kind of have a 50th year celebration. So we're going to be doing really something unique, either a unique program or event every month of our 50th year. Some of the projects we have underway, we're going to be replacing and restoring our boardwalk trail. Is going to be completely replaced. And we have a big construction project in the planning stage for our Jones Road picnic area that we plan to be rolling out, which includes a whole renovation of that space, a new playground, a new outdoor classroom, ADA pathways, a new bridge, so a completely new space. So we're not going to probably complete the whole project we're going to take 2 or 3 years, but we're going to be having parts of that completed. We do want to have that environmental pathways program with Dwight Morrow High School, in which we build a really great relationship with the public high school here in Englewood, to really build almost like a satellite location for the high school at our location. So we really want to build this great relationship with the public school here in Englewood, in which students are getting that kind of experience. And also we're tinkering with the idea of putting together almost a Flat Rock Brook commemorative 50th anniversary book, which kind of encapsulates the history of the organization pre-Flat Rock and all of the work that so many people had to do to make this facility what it is today. It's a really tremendous story. So I'm really excited to to be able to start that process. And of course, we're going to be doing all kinds of great programs in between, lots of collaborations with local nonprofits. So we're really excited.
Well, keep us in mind. We're ready to collaborate and be one of them. We're so excited for your big anniversary, and it sounds like there's so much planned. And folks, you don't have to wait till then. You start going now, start enjoying, get on their website, get on their social media, and get familiar with all the great work you're doing. I always say with all the great conversations that we've brought to you through YWTV, there's so many amazing organizations working hard for you around our community, and so many great ways that you can support them. This doesn't happen by accident. All this amazing work that and this amazing opportunity, this amazing space, that Stephen, gets to oversee and lead. And, it happens because of volunteers and donations and support, for their work. You might think because they don't have a building to maintain that it's a cheaper gig, but, managing all those trees and trails is definitely a project for sure. So they definitely need your help. And I know once you get there and see it, that you will fall in love with it and, make it something that you and your family just enjoy. And I have to say, if you work in the Bergen County area, it's one of those great places to just slip to. I've done this when you're having a stressful day and you're just driving through Englewood and you want to take your lunch break or, go grab, a drink of, go to Starbucks and you pick up your drink, go put it in a reusable cup, first of all, don't take the paper cup, and then drive over and go sit in front of the lake and watch the turtles bubble up and the beauty around you. And you'll feel like you went on vacation before you go back to the rest of your day. So I thoroughly encourage that being part of your agenda. Book it in on top of time with your families and hikes. So Stephen, before we go, I want to ask you, what is the coolest animal that you have seen in its habitat there at Flat Rock? Because I know I've seen a few really cool things. I'm curious for you who lives there, what do you see?
Well, I've seen. I guess I'll give two. I've seen a red fox just kind of come flying by me one day, which was great because they're kind of hard to see because they're nocturnal. So I work late sometimes. So in the wintertime, I saw a red fox. But even before that was a muskrat, which is not it's a rodent, so it's not a very glamorous animal, but it's really a good indicator species that things are going well on your property if you have muskrats and things like that, because they almost look like otters. If you're familiar with an otter, they're like a miniature sized otter like looking animal. But it was really kind of cool to see that in its environment, because that's not an animal you would typically see. I know they have them in the Meadowlands, and we had a program last week in which Captain Hugh Carolla for Flat Rock did a program talking about muskrats down there. So it's not a glamorous animal, it's a rodent, but I think even the non-glamorous animals are very important, that they need habitat. So let me give some kudos to the muskrat, because I appreciate them. I would be remiss too, Helen, as an executive director, to not announce that we have our gala on Thursday. So I'm very excited that we've already got a very good turnout. I think almost 200 people registered, but it's a virtual gala, so it's free. And you can go to our website at flatrockbrook.org if you'd like to learn more about that.
That's great. I'm so glad you mentioned it. It's a big week for galas. We have Habitat having one. You have one. And as I shared, so, great organizations, please consider supporting them. And our viewer, Meg Kelly, said she's excited to take her family. They haven't been yet. And so, Meg, you're going to have a great time. I know whether I sneak away by myself or I bring my crew, it's always a treat and a special experience. So enjoy, Meg. I'm glad that you were able to learn a little bit more about the programming from hearing Stephen today. So Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation. And, for me personally, it's just nice to get to see you, because I miss you during this time of COVID. We are, for our viewers, Stephen and I are part of a cohort of nonprofit executives that, mastermind on, ways to continue to create a strong network for our community. really grown to appreciate him and his work and his commitment and his friendship. So happy that we've had this time together today. And for those of you watching, as you know, YWTV is all about sharing information, and you're part of that. So, this was a great story. Hopefully after watching it, you learned something, bring it up in a conversation to somebody. Tell someone you know about this wonderful spot that we have nestled right in the city of Englewood, for you to enjoy. Share this broadcast with someone who you think would enjoy it. It's easy to do by copying the link and sending it in Messenger, putting it on your Facebook page, sending it in a text. Get the word out. We want people to know about this wonderful place to go and spend some time and, have your kids also be part of their living laboratory. There's a lot to do. And with that, we are not done with the week. We hope you join us tomorrow. As you know, Thursdays is when we share the mic now with Black women in our community to amplify their voices. And so we hope you join us for that. And on Friday, we continue our conversation focused on sustainability. And, there's so many ways that you can have an impact. And Friday, we're going to talk about swimwear and sustainable swimwear brand by Alexa D'Amico, the Day Swimwear, which, the season is coming. A lot of people are already vacationing. But this is another way that you can make an impact on your carbon footprint and on being more sustainable. And with that, as we close, I just want to end with how I started and encourage everyone to join tomorrow's town hall that YWCA USA is hosting. It's been in the works for some time, but it's even, the imperative of being part of that conversation is even greater today. In light of yesterday's verdict. So we hope that you register. The link is here in the comments for you, as well as the information about Flat Rock Brook is in the comments for you. And also we encourage you to join us on April 29th for our Racial Justice Awards, where we will be honoring people in our community who are living our mission of working to eliminate racism. We have some wonderful and distinguished trailblazers from our community who are really making a difference, and we are excited to bring them to you so you can learn about them. And also tonight, it's not too late to register if you are interested in starting a small business, or if you just want to create some meaningful connections for one that you already have in motion. Join our Grow and Glow series, Small Business 101. We have an amazing presenter. There's no charge. It's really just all about lifting and supporting our entrepreneurs. Just register on our website today or right here in the link that we've dropped for you in the comments. And we hope that you also continue to share the word. If you have not done our 21-day challenge yet of building better social justice habits and learning more about racial justice, it's easy to join. We'll have the links for that for you here and share with others. There's so much to learn around these topics, and this is a great place and space to start creating that primer for yourself, because the journey is an individual one as well as a collective one that we need to be doing simultaneously to get to eliminating racism. And so with that, we wish everyone a great day. Hopefully, you can get outside and enjoy the earth a little bit before the rains come. But gratitude for the rain, because that helps renew, of course. And we wish everyone a great day. And thanks so much, Stephen, for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much, Helen. I greatly enjoyed it.
Me too. Bye, everybody. Have a